I promised we would be back really shortly. You're nearly there, nearly at the end of your second day at the University of Melbourne. So far, we've looked at tips and tricks to help you get started. We've looked at ways you can develop your career outside the classroom right now. We've also looked at how you can set yourself up for academic success and how you can go about course planning. In case you've forgotten, but I think you all know me by now, I'm Zoe, and I am so pleased to be meeting our new Bachelor of Commerce students from all around the world. Now, I know when you think back to when you were planning and dreaming about university and what you were going to study, you possibly didn't figure a global pandemic would come into play. But as I've said to you each day so far, we have made so much possible in the online environment. And I want to keep saying to you, I think you're going to be very surprised by the way that we have been doing our learning and teaching for students. It's not possibly what you've experienced at high school. And we've really made sure that there's ways that we can engage you and keep you really excited about your studies. So now some of you may have been thinking, how can I possibly do some of my subjects online? Well, that's what we're about to do right now, starting your degree, Bachelor of Commerce, online. How does it work? What's it like? Now, again, for your third time experience this, I would like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the lands on which we all meet throughout the world. I join you from the lands of the Wurundjeri people, and I pay my respects to the elders past, present, and emerging. And I think now you know why that's something really important for us in Australia and at the University of Melbourne to do, to recognise our nation's first people. So, you know the drill. This is an interactive session and you can put your questions in the chat box. We will be posting important links for you there also. So this is for you, Bachelor of Commerce. And as you see, the further we go ahead, we're customizing everything to you. So how does online learning in the Bachelor of Commerce work? Well, I think the best way to get started is with my very first guest. He is a senior fellow in the Faculty of Business and Economics. He also teaches accounting. So chances are many of you are going to study with him. But I was also thrilled to see he has a primary interest, in fact, in developing online learning. Please, mate, welcome Noel Boys, who could very well be one of your first teachers. Welcome, Noel.
Thanks, Zoe. Hello, everyone. Nice to meet you all.
Wonderful, Noel. Can we see you? We don't have your camera on.
Oh, dear. I'm sorry. I thought the camera was on. Okay.
You popped up a second ago, Noel, but here we go.
What am I doing now?
You are certainly there, and I think our students are in wonderful hands. So remember, Noel is could be one of your first teachers. So I'm going to hand it over to you to give us a bit of a glimpse into how it works, and then I'm going to pop back with some of your questions that I might even put to Noel live. So over to you.
Okay. I said I was interested in technology. I didn't say I was any good at it. Are you seeing my slides right now?
We absolutely are. All good.
Excellent. Okay. So, as Zoe said, I'm very likely to be, you'll be likely to be seeing me as your accounting lecturer. I am the subject coordinator of the first year accounting program. So I'd just like to begin by talking about my favourite topic. And a lot of people presume that my favourite topic might be accounting or money. And while they're they are topics I do like a lot and I'm quite interested in, they're not my favourite topics, because my most favourite topic is talking about me. So what I'm going to do is tell you three things about myself. And as I go through each of these things, I want you all to think about which one of these three things you think are true. It could be that only one of them is true, or all three of them are true. It's possible none of them are true. But as I introduce myself to you with these three facts about myself, I want you to think about whether you believe me or not. So the first thing I'm going to tell you is that I was born on the 31st of June, 1962. The second thing I'm going to tell you is that I dislike public speaking. And the third thing I'm going to tell you is, now, what I want you to do then is, as you are thinking about those questions, can you all see a poll in front of you? What I would like you to do is nominate which of these three things. You can pick more than one option if you think all three of them are true, or if you think none of them are true. Don't be shy. This is not an examinable question. There are no right or wrong answers. Still got about a dozen of you to submit your answers. 3, 2, last chance. Okay. So let's have a look at what you have polled or what you have answered. 55% of you believe that it is true that I was born on the 31st of June 1962. Now, believe it or not, as well as this being a very self-indulgent exercise, this actually is linked to accounting. Because in accounting, accountants prepare what are called general purpose financial reports so that external users, people like shareholders and lenders, can read these financial statements for decision-making purposes. Now, as a preparer of financial statements then, I'm entitled to expect that my users already have a certain fundamental level of knowledge. For instance, they know that their times table, they are familiar with words like profit and asset. They might not have particular high levels of expertise about some of the more complex things in accounting, but I'm entitled to expect they know certain things. Now, there are 45% of you who do not think that is true. I'd like to think that's because you take one look at me and think he couldn't possibly be having his 60th birthday next year. But in actual fact, that can't possibly be true because, of course, there are not 31 days in June. And I'd be entitled to expect that you would already know that. And therefore, you would know that that bit of information can't possibly be true because there are only 30 days in June. And to my eternal regret, I wasn't actually born on the 30th of June either. I was born on the 29th of June. So I was one day off being a balance day baby. The second one, dislikes public speaking. 46% of you think that's true, which means over half of you think that is not true. The thing about this is that if I was to tell you that I dislike public speaking, a lot of people will say, well, that's not a particularly good trait for someone who speaks for a living. The fact of the matter is, I don't like public speaking. And in actual fact, I'm very nervous to be here. And just before 8:30, when this was starting, I was saying to Zoe, please, I've changed my mind. Don't make me go out there. And Zoe said, it'll be okay. And she patted me on the back and said, you'll be right. Just go out there and talk. Who likes public speaking, for goodness sake? Now, but a lot of people will often say, no, you like public speaking the way you're talking now. You clearly are enjoying it. In an accounting context, sometimes I might present information and you might be wondering whether or not that's true. I might not be able to necessarily prove it, but you would have to take my word about something I'm going to tell you. And so I will tell you that I do not like public speaking. I can't prove it, but I will offer you that as a piece of information, and you just have to accept that that is true. The final one, I'm a very funny guy. Now, you may recall when I actually presented that information, I didn't speak to it. How does this link to accounting? Because accounting reports don't talk to you, they are just words and numbers. And so when I write something down or present a number, I need to make sure that that information is unambiguous, that it is what accountants call a true and fair view. Now, in answering that question, I wonder how many of you were thinking, he's saying, I'm a very funny guy, but maybe I was trying to impart the message, I'm a very funny guy. And they are two very different things. To say you are a funny guy could be that you are humorous, that you make people laugh, but funny guy could also, to some people, mean I'm a strange guy. And when you write something, there's the potential for something to be misinterpreted or maybe interpreted by someone in a different way to what you intended. And so one of the skills in preparing financial statements is to make sure that you present information that is what's referred to as a true and fair view. So that was just a nice little exercise just to kickstart things, but also to give you a little bit of a taste about the kind of activities that we might see in an accounting class. So we've done that poll. So let me talk to you about what a typical week in my subject might look like from an online perspective. So the way the subject is designed is that a lecture, a 90-minute asynchronous lecture, is put up on the website for students to access. Now, the word asynchronous means that it's a recording, and you can listen to that recording whenever you like. Your timetable will actually nominate a particular time when that lecture is timetabled. But the beauty of online learning is that once the lecture is available, you can choose to listen to it during the timetabled time, or you can listen to it whenever you want. So that flexibility is a really good thing from an online learning perspective. And all students in the subject, whether you are doing your classes online or doing face-to-face, all students in the subject will be accessing that same asynchronous lecture. And then what happens is that during the week, there will be a 90-minute class. For some students, it'll be face-to-face. For the online students, it will be delivered via Zoom. So in an environment similar to what we're doing here right now. And what would happen in a tutorial is we would do these kinds of exercises like we just did with that lie detector test about me talking about myself. We do a range of different activities, calculations, case studies, those kinds of things. And the tutorial would centre around discussions, putting students in breakout rooms to discuss particular cases and the like, doing some polls to seek opinions and those kinds of things. So I'd like to think that the tutorials are quite interactive. It's not just me sitting there going blah, blah, talking to you, or whoever your tutor might be. These tutorials are also for 90 minutes, and the idea is that the tutorials apply the concepts from the previous week's lecture. So my expectation would be that you would come into the tutorial having listened to that lecture and done all of the recommended and prescribed readings and tutorial preparation exercises. So that's what a typical week in ARA would look like. So the lectures are delivered in 1 week, and then the following week, the tutorial material would link to that previous week's lecture. Now, this time last year, a little bit earlier than this time last year, I was told that I was going to be delivering classes online. My first reaction, firstly, I shed a tear because as a teacher, I love the face-to-face experience. I love being in a room with students and the interaction and all those sort of things that occur. So I wasn't looking forward to losing out on that experience. That was my first reaction. The second one was, oh my goodness, I'm going to have to get up to speed with some technology pretty quickly here and get used to adapting the materials and the classes for an online environment. I'm much more used to having students in front of me and I can see their faces when they laugh at my sick jokes and those kinds of things. Now it was all going to be done online. And so there was a lot of uncertainty for me. So they were my first two reactions. As my experience in the online delivery evolved, here I am now having delivered online for virtually 3 semesters now. The first thing I would observe is that in a face-to-face environment, often students are a little bit shy and are reluctant to offer answers and opinions. And I found, funnily enough, that in the online experience, students tended to be a lot more inclined to volunteer using the chat function that is available in those kind of Zoom classes. So that was a really positive thing for me, that students perhaps were not so conscious of being in a room and talking and being embarrassed or shy about speaking up. Instead, they were more inclined to involve themselves with the chat. The other thing was that students seemed far more inclined to ask questions. Again, maybe because they're a bit shy, wondering whether people in the room might think, oh, that's a dumb question. And I need to point out, there are no dumb questions. There are just questions. So never, never be scared to ask questions, which would be the best bit of advice I could give you. But we found that students, that the volume of questions was far greater in the online environment than it was in face-to-face classes. And just to let you know, the way we run the Zooms, there are two academic staff involved, one person doing the delivery and the other person who mans the chat function. And so the questions can be answered in real time as students post them. So I might be the person doing the delivery and my fellow academic would be answering all the questions through the chat. So the momentum of the class keeps going while students are asking questions along the way. And as a general comment, the interaction is greater. And I think that's because Zoom classes will use those functional tools like the chats and the polls and those kinds of things. So rather than what I've often found in face-to-face classes, we say, oh, okay, how many of you think that I'm a funny guy? Put your hands up. So 2 people put their hands up. So how many people think I'm not funny? 3 people put their hands up. And there are 20 people in the room, which means 15 people haven't put their hands up at all. What I found with things like the polls is that the rate of contributions and involvement is far greater. So these have been my experiences. The final thing I would say too, that what I found really good in the Zoom classes is that when the class is over in a face-to-face environment, the next class is banging down the door, so you've got to get out and you're on the move. In a Zoom class, assuming that I don't have a class immediately after my Zoom finishes and that you don't have a class immediately after the Zoom finishes, no one's banging the door down to get into our room. And I've really enjoyed the informal chats, as may well happen tonight, for instance, when the formalities of the night are over and everyone's just relaxed and chatting. Students are often inclined to engage, and that's a really positive thing that I've found. So overall, having started off with a bit of sadness and a bit of fear and trepidation, I've actually really enjoyed the online classes, and certainly I'd like to think, and the feedback from the students has been that they've enjoyed them too and have been unexpectedly better than what they thought they were going to be. So that ends my formal presentation. I'll be sticking around, of course, but if there's any questions you might have, you can start thinking about those, and Zoe will.
Yep, brilliant. Thank you so much, Noel. And I think what better way to give our students a glimpse into what learning online in the Bachelor of Commerce will be like than, in a way, you kind of experienced a bit of that there. So you saw the way that Noel interacted with you, and he has gone away. If you can come back, I've got a couple of questions for you, Noel. And just before you go, I think that was great because we got some insights into how your classes work, but also the way that you engage with students. So as you can see, no dumb questions. Your academics want you to ask those questions if you have them, if you need help. And that's my big question for you, Noel. How are you and your colleagues in the faculty supporting Bachelor of Commerce students who are logging in online if they're having a bit of trouble with their first assignments or a concept in the lecture or tutorial? What ways can they be assured that they'll be supported if they're having trouble?
Yeah, sure. So there are a couple of things. Firstly, what I mentioned earlier about the informal chat time. Sometimes students will use that time to ask some questions, and we, as I said, we do have that flexibility to be able to hang around and have chats. Funnily enough, I found that I could easily be hanging around for about 30 minutes after a tutorial, and I'm happy to do that. The other thing is that we offer consultation sessions, so a similar Zoom environment to what we're doing now, except it's a single academic and it's purely optional and voluntary. Students who have questions can log into that Zoom session and just have a one-on-one discussion with a consultation tutor, be one of the tutors in the program, and they can ask any question they like and spend as much time during that allocated time. So that's a great opportunity for students to get clarifications or go over questions they're not sure about, get some help with assignments and the like. And then the final thing is that within the LMS, we use a tool called Piazza. And so students can post questions that are available to all the other students. And what we've we've only been using it for the first time this semester, but one of the things I've really enjoyed is that there's scope under Piazza for students to answer their own questions. So you get a lot of peer interaction. And so that's been really good to watch the way students jump in and answer other students' questions. And while that's all happening, academic staff can oversee that and confirm that the way a question's been answered by a student is correct, or so yeah, that's good, but here's another thing to consider as well. So, and of course, tutors will often invite you they'll give you their email address if you need to email them. So.
Brilliant. It sounds like you've got it all sorted. And for those of you, again, if you are joining us from many parts of the world with significant time zones, I know through conversations I've had that there are lots of different opportunities for you to actually have those consultation hours. Now, Noel, I want you back again. I've got a question from our audience, the final one. It's coming from one of our very eager new students, and I find that a lot of our new students want to get a head start, and it's a common question. So we'd love your advice on this. So Yiju has asked, Mr. Boys, and I want to point out your academics, this is where it might be a bit different from high school. They'll all tell you how they want you to be addressed. Some might like to be just Noel or Zoe. Others might like to be called Professor Wall. Or something, but they will tell you that, and that's what you might find a little bit different from school. So, Noel, what are some literature or videos or readings that I could suggest to read right now before semester begins to be prepared for accounting subjects?
Ooh,
What's your advice on that? Should we wait till uni starts, or what are your thoughts?
Yeah. Once you're enrolled, of course, yeah, you could send me an email and I could give you access, or you could consider accessing the textbook, the prescribed textbook. So at the start of the semester, there'll be a subject guide which will provide all of the readings for all the different topics. But yeah, I'm not used to such enthusiasm so far before the start of a semester. Look, Google some questions that you might have and see what kind of links come up with those kinds of things. My expectation is that you won't have spent a lot of time necessarily doing any reading. It's something, or any preparation before that first week. It is simply something that if you're interested in doing, yeah, look, there are plenty of textbooks out there. Any first year textbook would be a good start, and I can tell you what our prescribed textbook is. But yeah, maybe just Google it. If you have a particular area of interest, hang around after this session and we can have a chat.
Just to point out to everyone again, you don't have that expectation on you to start studying right this second. But thanks so much for that, Noel, who could be one of your first teachers. We really appreciate that walkthrough of what you're doing in your classes. And again, you got to live that experience of what it's going to be like with that kind of interaction. So thanks so much. So we've just had a little bit of a glimpse at how does it work. Now I'm going to bring on some current Bachelor of Commerce students who are your peers, and they have been studying online and they're here to share what it's like. So she is the president of the Bachelor of Commerce Student Society. Please make welcome Emily. Hi, Emily. Thanks for joining us.
Hey, thanks for having me.
I feel really lucky that we've got the president of the Bachelor of Commerce Student Society here, because you do a lot of work to make students feel really connected. So thanks for joining us. But you are not alone tonight. We also have the wonderful Nathaniel, who is also a Bachelor of Commerce student, here to share what it's like. Welcome.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Now, I'm going to put you both in the hot seat. I'm going to ask you the questions that I know are on the minds of our new Bachelor of Commerce students throughout the world. And I'm going to start with you, Emily. So, Emily, tell us a bit about the Bachelor of Commerce Student Society and what you're doing for students to get involved right now, no matter where they are in the world, whether they're on campus or offshore.
Mm-hmm. Well, I guess a bit of a backstory. When I started commerce, like I am based in Melbourne, but I started my degree not knowing anyone. And I was like, I want to make some friends. I don't want to be that person that doesn't know anyone. So I was kind of walking around it all week and seeing what was going on. And the line that had club that had the biggest line was the Commerce Student Society. So I was like, right, don't really know what this is, but I'll just sign up and see what happens. And I have met hundreds and hundreds of friends through the Commerce Student Society. It has been so much fun. We run social events and we run events to help you learn about your career and like help you write your resume, and panel events with different people in different careers and different businesses to help you kind of work your way to work out where you want to go. Because I guess when you start, no one has any idea. Part of me, I still have no idea, but it's a really great way to, I guess, work out where you want to go whilst making friends and doing it in a really social and relaxed environment. We run events on campus, but we also run a lot of our events online, such as resume, writing events, panel events with other societies. That's something I should mention as well. Whilst I guess I'm biased towards the Commerce Student Society, we have more 10, 20 different commerce societies. There's the Economic Society, there's the Marketing and Management Society. There are so many, and attending O Week is the best way to get to work out what's there, what you're interested in, and whether you join the Commerce Student Society or another society, they have events that cater to both students online and on campus, and they're the best way to make friends. Like, I could not recommend, if that's the one thing you do, it's join a club, and you won't regret it.
Brilliant. So it sounds like it is about that career focus and fun. So best of both worlds. So get involved at O Week. Join 1, join 2, join 10. You can do that. Thanks for that start. Now I'm going to go to Nathaniel, and you actually started in semester 2, 2020. You've been studying online. I would love you to take us through a typical day with you studying online. What does it look like? And please share with our audience.
Yeah, so I think a typical day for me, I think I have to go back a little bit. So I think it's very important for all of us students to have very detailed schedule of our day, what we're gonna do. Although we can watch the lectures anytime, but the most important thing is to, you know, have a detailed schedule of what is your plan for the day, what you want to accomplish for the day. So normally before the school starts, I create a Google Calendar, put in what my task is for every day. Then I wake up and I do it. So a typical day for me, you know, semester 2, I used to wake up at 5 a.m., you know, get myself hyped, make myself awake, go for a run, come back, and then I have a class at 8 a.m. So feel super refreshed, super fresh, super awake, and then go for class at 8 a.m. And then after all my class, and then I watch all my lectures and make sure all those are done. And then I go back into studying revisions at night, make sure everything is sorted out. And I think the very important point and key point is that throughout the semester, if you ever feel lost about a subject, I think it's very important to go and ask the tutors, ask the coordinators, ask your friends on the things that you're not sure about. So it's important to catch up to anything and everything, I would say. Yeah, and that's my typical day.
So you've definitely become a morning person, Nathaniel,
Yeah.
it sounds like. I like that tip about ways to get yourself energized for the day. I am going to stick with you and put another question to you. What has surprised you about online learning? What did you find turned out to be a benefit that you thought, oh, this is good and not what I expected?
Right. So, you know, I came into online learning doubting about online learning actually. Firstly, because I don't think I can make any friends because it's online. But that I would say that is very untrue. It's not true at all because there are a lot of communities. Emily mentioned there are clubs that you can join. Through clubs you can make friends. Yeah, and connect with other people. And I think there's also a lot of Facebook groups. You know, this semester itself, I've joined a Facebook group through tutorial. Even though it's online tutorial, but somehow we managed to click together, you know, a guy and me. And so we managed to form a study group together. And I think finding friends isn't that difficult. I think we just have to step out of our comfort zone and meet new people. And I think, secondly, yeah, I I didn't expect the support from our tutors and lecturers to be there, because it's online learning. You can't ask questions face to face, but that is wrong also, because there's places like Piazza. It's a forum for students to help each other whenever a student have doubts, have questions. So platforms like this really help to engage, put students and tutors together. And if you need help is available to you from the tutors and also the students. So I think we are not losing out that we are not losing out at all when it comes to online study, because help is always there. Yeah, help is always there. That's all.
Thank you for sharing that, because you're actually in the exact same position as our new students about to commence their classes not too far away, because you actually started online, same as them. So that was really, really great. Now, Emily, same question for you. What has surprised you back when you were studying online last year? And have you seen an evolution in that time with what was happening with your online learning?
Yeah, I guess when I started, like, I loved going to tutorials and I went to all my lectures, and I kind of like, when we went online, I was very nervous about that, because I was like, oh, but I really like being in person and interacting with people. But I guess as coming into my third semester online, like, it's great. You're lucky you're coming in. All the lecturers and the tutors have had 3 semesters to kind of get it right. So being online and learning online, like, it's seamless experience. If not better than being in person. They can use different tools like polls and Q&As and things like that to really enhance your learning. The use of breakout rooms and that sort of thing is really great. And another thing that probably stands out for me is like the ability to kind of like organize your own learning. If you're a morning person, you can watch all your lectures in the morning. If you're an evening person, you can watch your lecture at 9 p.m. at night if you want. If you struggle to concentrate for more than an hour, you can pause your lecture at an hour, go off, have a 30-minute break, and come back and watch the next 30 minutes or so. So I think in that sense, it gives you a lot of flexibility and allows you to really get the most out of your study in a way that works for you. And I think that's something really important to like make the most of. Don't like let it, the fact that you're not on campus, let it kind of like destructure your day. Make it into a really good structure that works for you, and learn now in your first year, kind of when you're still figuring it out, what works for you, so that when you get into harder subjects in your second year and third year, you know, oh yep, I have to watch my lectures in the morning, or I should schedule my tutorials just before lunch because that's when I concentrate the best and I want to engage, and that sort of thing, to help you really kind of get started, and then you'll be good for the rest of your degree.
That's great. You guys have picked up on some really good benefits that have happened from this. And I think that's a great way that students can sort of get a sense about what they're in for very, very soon. And I'm going to go over to you now, Nathaniel, because you've undertaken quite some technical subjects. So I'm kind of keen to hear how that's worked. One is Foundations in Computing and Investments. What was that study experience in something a little more technical?
Yeah, so I took Foundations of Computing. No, I take that because I'm very interested in how, because the world is changing. We are more inclined to tech nowadays. Tech is very important. So I think it's very important for us to know a little bit more about how certain programming languages work. And I think these technical subjects like Foundation of Computing and Investment, they are very useful. Firstly, they are very useful. You can, it is very applicable, I would say, in real life. If there's some things you want to put, you can, you got it. You got the knowledge, you got the skills from the subject. So yeah, I took that as a brief subject, Foundation of Computing. Investment is one of my core because I'm doing a finance major. So yeah, very enjoyable subjects. And if you are someone who is who is curious about programming or want to get a start, want to try programming out, I would say Foundation of Computing is a very good start. It's not that difficult as a subject. Yeah, it's very good, very informative.
So it was something that was able to be delivered online well. So you obviously sound like you enjoyed it.
Yeah, and I would say it's because the help of the tutors and the forums, a Discord group with all of the students. You know, there's more than 100 students inside, so we're always constantly helping each other, and that's why I enjoy the subject also.
Wonderful, thank you. Now, all of our new students are about to start university. Many are coming just straight from high school. So there is a transition, but there's also the fact that they're starting online. Emily, cast your mind back when you first started online classes and throughout the journey. What was something that was challenging at first for you, and what's your tips to overcome that?
I think probably the biggest thing is like when you're at school, you have your teachers there checking in on you every single day. You're with your peers the whole time, and kind of when you get to university, there's not someone checking in on you all the time and like showing you this is the reading for this week, or your assignments due at the end of the week. Being on top of everything is something that you really have to kind of take ownership of. I guess one of my best tips for that is at the start of the semester, as Noel said earlier, go through the handbook, highlight all the key dates for assignments and that sort of thing. And then just every week, whether like that's a Sunday night or a Monday morning, go through each subject, work out what you have to do before a tutorial. Is there any assignments or things due that week? And just making sure that you're really on top of everything that you have to do, because I guess if you forget about something, that's on you, and no one's going to tap you on the shoulder and be like, oh, you submitted this late, like quick, just hand it in now. Once it's late, you won't get those marks. So it's really important for your own learning just to really be on top of everything. And that's like a great way also, like making friends so that you can be on top of each other, being like, hey, have you done this reading? How are you going with this assignment? And having friends there to keep you accountable is something really good as well.
And you'll form those, as Nathaniel said, when you're in your tutorial groups and smaller group discussions or study groups. So it's a really great place to start. Really excellent advice there from Emily. Thank you. Now, Nathaniel, what was a bit of a challenge for you starting at university first, and how did you overcome it?
Challenge, I would say, is to be disciplined. I think online study really require a lot of discipline, because if you're not on top of things, you always have the mindset of, hey, I can do it tomorrow, you know, and then tomorrow comes, I have another tomorrow. I can always do it on the weekends. I have known. So one challenge is that, you know, you have to really, I would say I would have to really have my discipline on top of my game. So at the point, I think when I started uni last time, you know, I think after week 2, I realized, hey, I'm lagging behind. So there's some things I need to catch up on, and I can't let this happen anymore. I can't keep sliding back. So I came up with a schedule, make sure I'm more disciplined. So I created a schedule and I follow the schedule. I stick to it. I think what Emily mentioned earlier is that, you know, sometimes lectures, it gets a bit dry, but a good thing about online learning is that you can always pause. If you find the lecturer talking too slow, you can always go double speed. So there's a lot of things you can do through online learning, and I think these are pros of it. Yeah.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much for that. I do want to point out to everyone that while you will have to manage your time and you will be responsible for turning up to class and handing things in on time, you will be guided. You'll be given all the right tools to know when and where and how to submit, and exactly going back to ask questions if you're not sure of anything. There's probably lots of students getting used to it at the same time, so your questions are a good thing. We will look after you, and also cast your mind back to our earlier session today, where we learnt about all of those different ways to set you up for academic success, one being time management, so you can take those workshops starting in O Week. I'm going to invite Noel back here because we are already out of time, and I would like to end with all of my experts by putting my big question. You guys are used to it by now, but Emily, right when you started university, what would be something that you'd wanted to know then that would have helped you now? So what's your one big takeaway to students just about to start the Bachelor of Commerce?
It would definitely just be to get involved, like whether that's getting involved in tutorials, making sure your camera's on and you're engaging with the class, whether that's joining a club or a society, just whatever works for you and sounds the best, do it and put your all into it, because otherwise you'll definitely regret it. You'll look back and be like, all I did was study, when there's so much more to university than that. So just getting involved as much as you can is definitely the best way to go.
Thank you. Nathaniel, what's your big takeaway for our new Bachelor of Commerce students?
Yeah, like what Emily mentioned, get involved in tutorial. You know, we are behind the screen. There's nothing to be shy about. After a while, after one tutorial, I don't think anyone is gonna remember us. So speak out, you know, make friends. I think project groups, we can always slide into other people's comments, privately message them, you know, if you want to form a project group. So these are the things that you all can do.
Thank you. Now, Noel, slightly different question for you, because I've got to keep things tricky. What is the one thing that you want to say on behalf of the academics in the Faculty of Business and Economics to our new Bachelor of Commerce students about to start?
Well, first, I'd like to congratulate you on your excellent choice of studying at the University of Melbourne. But the one piece of advice I'd love to give you all is, whenever you come to class, don't be shy in asking questions. Make sure you have an opinion and don't be shy to offer your opinion. And the final thing is, when you are focusing on your learning, don't focus on memorizing things. Exam questions aren't going to ask you to recite verbatim definitions and things like that. Exam questions are all about applying the concepts. So don't focus on rote learning, focus on understanding and your ability to apply the concepts.
Oh, excellent advice there. I would like to again say, Womanjika, welcome to the University of Melbourne community. We're so excited to have our new Bachelor of Commerce students starting classes not too far away. But I'm going to give you your final tip, and that is, again, you've heard this from me many times, orientation week starts on the 19th of July. Be there, because that's where we'll go into even more detail for the Bachelor of Commerce, and it's getting so close. So from us to you, we wish you all the best, and we can't wait for you to log in and have a slice of Melbourne every time you do that. So good luck. Bye for now, and Womanjika from us.
Good night, everyone.